Hello and welcome to Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania. Today we are going to take you on a short tour of Vilnius Old Town and show you its most significant landmarks. Now we are in the Cathedral Square, in the very heart of Vilnius, in Šventaragis Valley, where it all started. According to the legend, the Grand Duke Gediminas was once hunting in this area. The Grand Duke stopped here for the night and had a very strange dream. In his dream, he saw an iron wolf standing on the top of a hill, with its head raised proudly towards the moon, howling as loud as 100 wolves. The pagan priest explained the dream to him. Gediminas was to found a city on the spot where the wolf had stood. That city would be the capital of Lithuanian lands, and its reputation would spread far and wide as far as the howling of the mysterious wolf. So, the Grand Duke of Lithuania, obeying the will of gods, immediately started to build the future capital. The wooden castle that was on a hill was rebuilt and fortified, and at the foot of the hill, new fortifications were built, thus the lower castle appeared and the city started growing around it. According to historical sources, Vilnius was founded in 1323 and became the official capital of Lithuania, and Šventaragis Valley became the official residence of the Great Duke of Lithuania. There were two castles located here: the upper castle, of which only Gediminas tower ruins remain, which you can see up on the hill, and the lower castle, a complex of different buildings together with the royal palace. At first, the Grand Duke resided in the upper castle and the lower castle, but at the turn of the 16th century, the residence was finally moved to the lower castle. The bell tower of the cathedral is a tower that was once part of the defense wall that surrounded the lower castle. Gradually, it lost its defensive function, and in the 17th century, it was reconstructed as a bell tower. A part of the complex of buildings of the lower castle is the royal palace. The first brick constructions here date back to the turn of the 14th century. In the 16th century, Lithuanian Grand Duke and King of Poland Sigismund the Old reconstructed the building in the magnificent Renaissance style and redesigned the residence. At the turn of the 17th century, the palace was once again reconstructed and gained early Baroque features. Italian luxury and spirit held sway in the royal estate in the 16th century. Music concerts, the latest dances, feasts, scientific debates and literary evenings were held here. It was the place where emissaries of European rulers were welcomed, privileges granted, and the Council of Lords and Seimas met. The magnificent residence became a center that spread Renaissance and early Baroque culture, not only in the Great Duchy of Lithuania, but in Central, Eastern and Northern Europe. In 1655, though, the Muscovite and Cossack army occupied Vilnius. The palace and the entire city had been plundered and devastated. After a siege that lasted for many months, the palace sustained great damage and fell into disuse. And finally, in 1801, it was demolished by the occupational Russian Tsarist government. At present, as you can see, the palace of the Grand Dukes has been revived. Reconstruction and rebuilding of the palace began in 2001. Over 300,000 archaeological findings were uncovered. On the frieze of the recreated portal, carved in gilt letters, is the dedication of this historical residence as a monument to Lithuania's millennium. On July the 7th, 2009, the palace opened its doors to its first visitor. Now the palace has become a center for education, for state ceremonial events and tourist excursions. And simply, it is a beautiful place for appreciation of culture and history. Right next to the royal palace, Vilnius Cathedral Basilica is located. The cathedral was built in the very center of the city, in a very important spot, which was the sacred site of Perkūnas, the god of thunder and the ruler of nature, a site where in ancient times there was a pagan temple and where a sacred pagan fire was kept burning. The rulers of Lithuania were buried in the cathedral for centuries. Below, in its vaults, paganism meets Christianity, as the ruins of the churches are mixed together with pagan altars. The first Christian church in the place of the former pagan temple was built by the first king of Lithuania, Mindaugas, in 1251, when he accepted Christianity. Later, almost each ruler changed the holy site according to the fashion of the times. It was rebuilt 6 times, most often after fires. Today, the cathedral is in the classicist style, redesigned by architect Laurynas Gucevičius at the end of the 18th century. The cathedral went through the most wonderful and most dramatic events of the history of Lithuania, and today it is one of the greatest symbols of our country. Now let's take a walk up Pilies Street from the cathedral to the Gate of Dawn. When the city was founded in the 14th century, the Grand Duke Gediminas started inviting artisans and merchants from all over Europe to come to Vilnius. They were guaranteed excellent conditions such as tax privileges and religious freedom. Pilies Street was the city's main trading street. You can see buildings of various architectural styles on Pilies Street: Gothic, Renaissance, Classicism and Modernism. Here you can see a Renaissance building reconstructed in the 17th century, which was the home of Vilnius Cathedral chapter. Now it is a cozy and popular restaurant, Grey, which invites Vilnius residents and tourists to enjoy a delicious meal and a view of the bustling old town. The red brick stylish building on the left is an example of Gothic brick architecture from the turn of the 16th century. The building belonged to the clergy and was rented to goldsmiths, surgeons and pharmacists. This is a very important building in the history of Lithuania. On the second floor of this building, 20 members of the Council of Lithuania signed the Act of Independence on the 16th of February 1918. This way, an independent Lithuanian state was created after a long fight against the oppression. A museum operates in the House of Signatories, featuring the Memorial Hall where the act was signed. Inner courtyards with open arched galleries are so characteristic of Vilnius. Italian courtyard architecture style was frequently applied in Vilnius. However, many of the arches had to be bricked up due to the cold wintry climate. In this courtyard in the 19th century, there was a popular cafe, Victoria Cafe, which was a favorite place among the members of a secret Philomath Society of Vilnius University, and Adam Mickiewicz, a famous poet and a member of the secret society, used to come here quite often. Here we come to the Church of St. John's. The first church was built here soon after the Christianization of Lithuania in 1387. It received its current form in the middle of the 18th century after numerous fires in the city. Vilnius Baroque architect Johann Christoph Glaubitz rebuilt it in the ornate late Baroque style and installed 24 altars inside. The church has 2 facades, a frontal one which points towards the university and a rear one which opens up to Pilies Street. Jesuit monks introduced a new custom to the church, and the church was used not only for the Holy Mass, but it also hosted lectures, debates, along with the ceremonies for giving scientific degrees. Now the church is once again under the auspices of the Jesuits. There is also a museum located here, which often hosts festive events and concerts. Pilies Street becomes the Joy, literally a great street, and passing the town hall on our right, we slowly approach one of the most famous sites in Vilnius, if not the most famous. It is the Chapel of the Gate of Dawn. It is one of the most visited places in Vilnius that is famous not only in Lithuania but also abroad. Inside the gate, there is a chapel containing the painting of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of Mercy, which is known all over the world. Many churches in other countries have copies of this painting. The picture, which is also called Vilnius Madonna, was made at the beginning of the 17th century, according to the drawing of a Flemish artist, Martin de Vos. It is painted in the Renaissance style, in tempera on oak boards, later repainted in oil. Soon after it was painted, copies of the picture spread all over the world, and the image was in practically every home. Since the middle of the 17th century, it has been said to have miracle-working powers. The Gate of Dawn Dawn is the only surviving gate of the first original 5 gates in the city wall that was built at the beginning of the 16th century. The gate itself is a massive rectangular structure with walls that are up to 2.5 meters thick. The top of the gate is adorned with a Renaissance composition with the Lithuanian coat of arms Vytis in the center. The Gate of Dawn in the old times was at the outer edge of the defense walls where the city ended, and so here ends our short tour of old Vilnius. Vilnius has many faces. It's both old and modern, deeply traditional and incredibly cosmopolitan, bustling with life, but take a step aside and it's soothingly quiet. It can be beautiful in all seasons, beautiful in different ways. So come and experience for yourself all the different faces of Vilnius.